Most of you watching this interview know that Stuart Schmaltz is the chairperson of our board of directors. And we have entered this fun phase of our journey, part of our 10-year vision, to reallocate some of our assets, which really means sell some of our property here at Mount Scott in order to pour it back into ministry to the neighborhood and to becoming a community place where we gather neighbors and younger generations. So Stuart, in the eyes of many people, including myself, we really see that you are God's person for this part of Mount Scott's journey. So yeah, we'll leave that between you and God, but we see it and we're thankful. So good job, God. Way to go. So let's just want to chat with you a little bit about this interesting time that we're in.
Okay.
But first, let's start with a positive. Tell me what you've enjoyed about this part of the journey as we have been pursuing a property sale.
Well, one thing I really enjoyed is seeing already Mount Scott partnering with our neighbors in doing ministry. I think about neighbor to neighbor. I think about how we started cooking for the Clackamas Service Center, and not just church people, but the neighbors joining us.
Yes.
And when we put out the communication that this is something we wanted to do, is do these meals, who would like to join us? We had some amazing chefs show up volunteering their services.
That was sure felt like a God thing.
That's an amazing God thing. And then that need went away, and Portland Homeless Family Solutions popped into the picture here right down the hill from us with the same type of need, and our team was immediately able to pick up and start serving meals down there. It took a while, because like we're going through, every time you think you're going to do something when it comes to property or building, it took a lot longer than they thought. Mm-hmm. But it's up and running, and the team loves it.
Yeah.
I can't thank the Allen Brands enough for what they've done in taking the lead, but also the neighbors.
Yeah, they seem to really, they're so committed to this. They love doing it and cooking together.
You know, and neighbor to neighbor, partnering with not only our people that live in the community, but also City of Portland has really recognized what neighbor to neighbor is about, and they've introduced us to many people with needs in our neighborhoods. Matter of fact, outside of our neighborhoods, the needs that they've brought to our attention, it's kind of overwhelming. Mm-hmm. We've heard from a gal, Sharon Hofer, with Multnomah County. She's a nurse and works with the vulnerable people that are a lot of shut-ins. Huge needs there. And we've got to meet and serve some of these people, and we're still serving them today. Mm-hmm. Another great example that's, we talk about exciting. I love this part of my journey in life, which is giving back. I think about a gal down the hill that we met through Reach. Back on our first anniversary of Neighbor to Neighbor, we learned about her, and one of our neighbors fell in love with the story when they heard about this gal and her need. And she stepped up and said, I want to figure out how to help her. And it took about 4 or 5 months for the door to open. All these different things going on. I know my wife in DHSF, she loves Embrace Oregon, and that's also being another piece that, we just enjoy serving at this point in our lives.
And I think, just like you mentioned, one of the joys, and I think one of the healthy aspects for the church, for us, as we've gotten to know city officials more, and you mentioned police officers, it's been such a huge eye-opener to recognize it's not just the church here who has a heart for people, but we meet people constantly who have a heart to really help others. And so it's been so easy to just link arms and let's do this thing together.
It totally is a blessing and a joy.
I agree.
It brings a smile to my face. Second Saturday of the month. I know you said it and I say it. I look forward to it.
Yep, I agree. Well, Stuart, I'm going to kind of move into this, what we're dealing with right now in our journey because of COVID-19, which no one saw coming on the horizon. We have lost our potential buyer. they had to pull out due to their own commitments in California. And I know for me personally, it was just hard. I really grieved for a few days that loss of potential partnership. This is someone and a company that we poured in our resources, our own emotions and our financial resources to coming together. And so just wondered if you'd tell us how's this all affected you. This has just happened in the last week or two. Time is kind of running together, but how are you doing, Stuart?
Well, I did cry.
Okay.
And I think
Thanks for telling us that. Yes.
it's emotional.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, first of all, being in business and trying to understand what we were going through, because none of us could really comprehend everything being thrown at us so fast in March. We think of March Madness as basketball, but March Madness was different this year.
Good point.
Long story short, for me, I think God was preparing me. I kind of was seeing what happened in Washington. It was a community similar to what Jason was running.
Right.
And when I saw how bad that was, and then it happened in a VA hospital here in Lebanon, in Oregon, and seeing that this is not good for his business.
Right.
And I can't imagine how he's going to take this forward. So I was mentally like, if this happens, it's such a God thing. But if this doesn't happen, it's still a God thing. I just don't know what
the next thing God will lead us into. Yeah, I hear you.
So it was hard. I mean, I think the hardest part then was trying to write a communication to our church members as well as our community members that were totally excited about this as well.
The church had responded so well, the neighbors, so we all felt like we were in this together, and we're still in it together. I think we're all grieving that. Okay, that's been set aside, but we're trusting, I know, that God's refining the vision and will take us forward. So you mentioned, Stuart, having been a business owner. So talk to us a little bit about that. How do you see that God used your career, which you're now pretty much retired from completely?
Yeah.
How has that prepared you for what God has had you step into with us?
Well, let's see. Back in the last financial crisis that took place 2008, 2009, if I remember right.
Yes.
Our company actually was probably, they told us, the last company to get a loan from Lehman Brothers for the two buildings we own out in Troutdale, where our business I used to be involved in is still located. So imagine we went through a lot of stress because we were all excited buying these buildings. We were having a viable business, and it was like almost overnight too. Things were happening like, where's this coming from?
Okay.
For us, you just lay it at Jesus' feet and you trust.
Okay.
And
but having walked through this personally once before do you think, strengthening?
So that really was helpful.
Okay.
Those stories in life are so helpful for you trying to face when you get into these uncertain times. And I call them God time, puzzle time. Okay. My wife and I do more puzzles when we're stressed out.
Okay.
And that's part of our reality. But yeah, your prayer time just goes up.
Okay.
I've had many life examples in the business world.
Sure.
The bad ones, some of the worst ones we've had. Another example was at one point we had made a few business mistakes that cost us where we were stuck with a lot of excess inventory.
Okay.
Very stressful time. Again, a lot of prayer time, a lot of puzzle time.
I love that puzzle time analogy.
Yeah, on your knees. I remember getting up in the morning a lot during that time period as well, just in prayer.
Okay.
And what the exciting part about that piece was we ended up finding a guy that does closeouts, told him what we had. He's located on the East Coast, and he sold a chunk of our product to Home Goods.
Oh, great. Okay.
Out of the blue, about, I don't know, probably a year later, I get a call from this person saying they work for Home Goods, and they're like, who are you guys? Seems like we bought some stuff, and they're one of our largest customers today.
That's how you got that account. I didn't realize that.
From something that went very bad and caused all this stress and heartache, God turned to good.
I appreciate a lot about you, but one of the things that stands out is the fact that I know that you are a person of prayer, and I know that you seek God in your life when things are good, and right now when things aren't the best, the greatest. Can you give us any insight into other ways that you have, just in this last month, feel yourself growing spiritually through this, or maybe from times in the past?
Well, I go back to, again, some scripture we learned in Crown Ministries. Ed and Dee Dee, thank you.
Yes, agreed.
So it's, let me find it here.
Okay.
It's 1 Chronicles 29, 11 and 12. Still have it memorized.
Okay.
I have it written down just in case, but everything in the heavens and earth is yours, O Lord, and this is your kingdom. We adore you as being in control of everything. Riches and honor come from you alone, and it is at your discretion that men are made great and given strength. And that first part about releasing it, that he's in control, I try to release.
Okay.
Not easy. It's the hardest, and I know you probably the same way.
Yeah.
We want to control our outcome. And this property, I wanted to control it. Not just in what just happened, but in every aspect. So many times, Gary used to say, produce the outcome or something. We try to produce things.
Right.
And we've got to let God do the work. This is my wife and I, our itinerary. I should be in Portugal right now. This is our first full day with our little grandson, Noah, son-in-law, Scott, and daughter, Katie. They had 2 weeks off, and we were scheduled to fly out yesterday. It's hard to let go of family stuff. And, this again, we were so excited and made all the plans. Everything was booked. And, you can go, God, why? But again, it's releasing it. We still get to look forward to it at some point.
Right.
But, I look at Spain and, on a positive note, at one point we were thinking of going earlier, and we could have been trapped there in Spain and trying to come home with those masses of people that got trapped in airports and went through, I don't even know, the nightmares to try to get home.
Stuart, anything else that you would share with us in how you have grown spiritually through this unforeseen crisis?
Well, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, and always acknowledge Him, and He'll make your pathway straight. It's, we all heard those verses, right?
Yeah.
And yet, trust Him in all things. I've been down the road long enough to see where, when I'm faced with, I mentioned some bad things, He comes through.
Well, Stuart, if you don't mind, share with us, what are the next steps for the church in this process, and it's particularly with the property?
Yeah, so for sure more prayers.
Yeah, please.
We've been coached, advised, smack, slow down. You're going to take a 60 to 90 day timeout.
Yep. Not easy for you and I, task-driven people that we are.
Well, we jumped right in.
Yeah, we did.
And Jerry, our project manager, set us up with a company, and I cannot remember the name. They specialize in marketing properties for senior communities, and they're really engaged in Oregon and Washington.
Walker and Dunlap?
Walker and Dunlap, yes. And they are already, when we had a conference call a week and a half ago, one of their gentlemen was sitting out in our parking lot looking at it. They were looking at comps as they were talking, not comps, but what's the name of that?
Demographics.
Demographics for senior communities in Portland, especially in this neighborhood. And everything scored extremely high, which was a God kind of like, don't worry, you got something here.
Agreed. Yeah, you're heading down the right path.
And so they're doing due diligence right now. I even had a call about an hour ago with them asking some more questions. So even though we can't market it, they're doing all the due diligence, trying to figure out how to market it, value that they could market at, and potential customers. So there's stuff going on, but
Yeah.
they're even, we talked to Dennis Polish yesterday, the two of us.
So appreciated that, didn't we? Yeah.
He wanted to step in and help us. He just
Yep.
said, can I answer any questions for you guys? And I'm here for you. And, you know, he also coached us on the 60 to 90 days. So
He did. I felt like a real a voice of reason and calm and encouragement at the same time, but certainly
Right.
helped us grapple with reality.
yeah, you know, and I think both of our heart's desires are more for the safety of our Jason's communities down in California.
Yeah.
You know, we feel so sorry for. He was all excited about this. To have anything pulled away like this at the end just breaks your heart. And I know he loved working with us, and the last thing he wanted to do is walk away from this. So, you know, join us in praying for those communities, especially his
Yeah.
communities, all his senior communities, because they are in such a vulnerable place.
Indeed. And most of us, a lot of us have elderly parents right now, so
Right.
prayers appreciated.
So we have a beautiful property, first
We
and
do.
foremost, and we are in a beautiful area, and this too will pass, and we'll see where God takes us.
We will, indeed. Well, Stuart, just in closing, people express this all the time. Nobody wants you or leadership, all of us, to feel like we're alone in this. And so how would you have our people be praying for you, for Chris, who leads our Future Focus team, for the property team, the staff, and the board during this time? Any last words on direction for that?
Well, I think prayer for all of us in leadership, for protection, and I think about our pastors, all of us, our families. Think of your family with Brian on the front lines.
Thank you.
And I think about just wisdom, patience.
Yes.
We're sitting in our coffee shop.
Yeah.
Brian's been here now for going on his third year.
Well, it's just starting 2 years. Actually, this March, 2
Yeah,
years.
so he's starting
Yep,
his
going
third
into
year.
year. Yep, that's right.
And I think it's hard for him to not want to see this the coffee shop, coffee space.
Right.
And there's just all these little pieces that I know we were hoping to have kind of moving to a place where things were going to start to happen. So prayer for, I think, patience and all of that. Another huge piece for all of us here in leadership is we need giving to continue so we can continue to do ministry.
Yes.
So a big prayer of mine, or I'm asking for prayer, is that we all find ways to continue to give so we can continue ministry here at Mount Scott.
Yes.
Another huge prayer. 2021, January, 3 of our key board members are coming off.
Correct.
So join us in praying for who's going to be our next board members to come on. We've talked to some people, but just need prayer because Mount Scott is in a laying a foundation for the future, and we just need amazing board leadership. And you know, I just pray for the financial action team as they're working out this right now with you all and the staff, and big prayers for that.
And that's, in fact, and I didn't even mention them, and I give thanks for them almost every morning right now, the financial action team and the board, the wisdom of the past. You guys have carried us through very wisely to always have those reserves put aside for such a time as this. And so know that your staff is grateful for the work and the wisdom that you guys have
Yeah.
shown.
You know, the last thing I will say is if anybody's bored, probably some people bored out there, right?
Could be.
Our beautiful church property, we could use somebody else to mow the lawn.
Do some weeding, maybe?
Do some weeding, trim our hedges out there.
Great
and
suggestions.
you can easily come over here and socially distant and do work. And let's make our property look as good as it can for our neighbors. So if you want to do it, the parking lot's open. Come out and just look for stuff to do.
So, Stuart, thanks so much for your time. This was fun, and we are praying for you, and we know that you cover the church in prayer all the time, too. So,
Thank
thanks
you
so much.